do drop your bits and pieces in chat. Change the camera momentarily. I'm just using my phone just to make sure that this is all working. Make sure everything is ticking along. That's what we want. What we'll do then, bring that down. And then we'll hit the button. There we go. Hello, 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 everybody. Just kicking in a few bits and pieces. We'll just obviously just fired the tweet out. It's obviously in all its usual places. We just need it to. I'll just give people a moment or two just for everything to come in. I apologise for the background noise, but it is absolutely pissing it down here. So we'll see what happens with that in a bit. Like I say, just let folk get in. Remember to share the stream out if you're watching live as well. We'll obviously go through our usual bits and pieces that we do. And just while people are coming in, I'm just going to take a minute just to pull up some stuff. So pull up a couple of notes on my phone that that I need. That's what we're going to have off of there. If nothing else, the one really problematic, annoying thing has been getting one place, everything in one place that that has all of the respective scores from the national divisions games this past weekend. This is the very, very handy and useful thing sometimes about Andrew Day, God bless him, because he will have. It will at least somewhere, I know, have done a tweet of all of the scores, which is really, really helpful. So I can skip through bits and pieces. Right, folk are coming in. Folk in the chat. So as Sagala, Andrew's there himself. Hello. Charlotte's there. Hello. Right, we are at about a couple of minutes past. So we should probably get this rocking and rolling, shouldn't we? Oh, what's happened there? Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Hang on a sec. I'm not sure what's happened there. My camera has gone funny. Why is my camera turned off? Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Let's just try something very quickly. Not sure what's gone wrong there at all. Hopefully you can all still hear me, but I assume the picture is not working at the moment. You just need to bear with me for 2 seconds. Just we're going to try and get some stuff working again. That has gone funny. Right. That is not good at all. Why has that done that, I wonder? That has completely... So bear with me a second just while we're just going to quickly do a transition. You can see the action in progress, as it were. Oh no, it's not going to let me do that in... It's not going to let me do that when it's on the screen. I have to do it off the screen instead. Let's do that. And let's move that across like that. Oh no, that's now gone way too big, in fact. Apologies, everybody. I'm not entirely sure what has caused this problem, all things considered. It's now just gone completely out of whack. So we're just going to have to work with what we've got. The tech appears to be dying on its backside. So we're going to work for now. Can everybody see me again? Can we all see me again? Not entirely sure what happened there in the slightest, but we're just going to have to kind of roll with what we've got if the technology is going to fail. I'm going to blame the weather. Guys, gals, and the gender fluid and all beyond the binary, it is Wednesday night. It is 8 PM and welcome back once again to the BOTW What's Current stream. My name is Anthony Russell and we are here once again to go through all of the machinations, all the games from everywhere across the National Ice Hockey League structure here in Great Britain. We focus on the National Division. That is our home port, our bread and butter. But of course we have a look through absolutely every game from across all 5 divisions. That means the National as well as Division 1 and Division 2 in the north and in the south. I hope everybody is having a great evening so far. like I say, for whatever reason, the text gone slightly wonky there, and my camera cut out mid-stream, which is really not super helpful at all, but it appears that I am working. But yeah, so before we really kick off and get too much into bits and pieces, because there is, again, a lot to talk about across the NIHL this evening from the past weekend. Let's just go through a couple of bits and pieces, a little bit of housekeeping for those of you new to the show. And if you're old, you can hum along with the words. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. That is my website. That's where I've been writing about ice hockey in Great Britain now for the past 12 and a half years. They started off focusing just on the Basingstoke Bison. It's now broadened out into a much bigger, wider amount of stuff. And where the Bison are not playing in 23-24, we are on the big BOTW Banners on the Road journey across any and all hockey that I can find to go and watch, which of course means the last game that I went to from last Saturday, Solent versus Invicta. That match night report is up on the website now. It's got 12 years worth of stuff for you to go back and check out, as well as our Hockey Stories series. Long form pieces of content from the weird, wacky and wonderful world of ice hockey from the 19th century to the present day, behind the Iron Curtain, into World War II, players, officials, fans and more. All there to be kind of ready. If you like sitting down, having a good read of something, of an article about stuff, that's the place to go, is Hockey Stories. And there's a bunch of other stuff there for you at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Of course, we're live on YouTube, so make sure let's feed the algorithm hamster so he runs on his wheel. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share this out, do all the fun stuff, and all of our links for bits and pieces are down there in the description, including Twitter, Facebook, and of course you can, if you can, buy me a coffee. You can donate to the to keep the wheels running. It's purely a busking cap, as it were. BOTW's never going behind the paywall, but given the fact my costs are going up a little bit this year, if you'd like to contribute to just help things keep rolling along, that'd be really, really appreciated. So it sounds almost a little like the weather is starting to slowly calm down here in Southampton, because it is not nice weather out there, and of course the weather has been the big factor over the last couple of days in the NIHL, obviously with the news coming out of Swindon. The one thing we should do though very, very quickly is we will look at the games from this past weekend before we really get into the meat of what's going on with Swindon. And of course, as I'm chatting away, the other thing you need to worry about, of course, is the chat function. That's the joy of joining us for the live show. If you head over there should be the live chat, and you can throw in questions, comments, anything and everything that you want to chat about as we are going along. But of course, if you are joining us live, if you are using the chat function, remember the golden rule here at BOTW, that is DBAD, don't be a dick. Be respectful of other people's thoughts and feelings. We're going to have a wonderful, lovely time. Either way, the National Division, obviously, we had the last of pre-season last weekend. We had the Milton Keynes Lightning and the Milton Keynes Thunder with their big smush of a sort of scrimmage game that they had. I have heard no words out of it, so I will guess it is entertaining. I'm waiting for Jamie to appear in the chat and tell us what that game was like. But of course, we did have a few bits and pieces game-wise coming out of it, and a bit of a tough weekend for our friends from Solway. They were up against Leeds Saturday. The 6-3 win for the Knights. I did manage to actually catch a bit of this game. This is the joy of going to Solent. Games face off at 5 o'clock on a Saturday evening, which meant I was home by about like 8:30. that was refreshing for a hockey game there. Other scores as well from Saturday: Peterborough with the 8-2 win over Telford. Swindon edging out Bristol by 5-4, and a 2-2 draw between the Bees and the Raiders in the first leg of the Everyone Active Cup. Is it the Everyone Active Cup? Shield? Dinner plate? Thing. Pre-season thing. They were out there. So some relatively sort of straightforward results and bits and pieces. A big thank you, of course, to Andrew Day. I'm using some of his stuff from the weekend in terms of keeping tabs on National Division bits and pieces, because Joe Scutt's NHLstats.wordpress.com, if you're not familiar with it, it's great for when the league is on. Joe doesn't compile pre-season fixtures because, as we all know, they don't count, so he doesn't bother with them. But yeah, Leeds with a decent sort of 6-3 win. 2 goals from Liam Stenton and 1 from Nolan Gardner. Goals for the Knights from Barron, Braden, Griffin, Hayward, and of course 2 from the main man of the National Division, Kieran Brown. Shield, thank you, Joe. You'd know about it anyway. I saw somebody call it the Everyone Active Cup as well, so I was a little bit confused. Scrimmage was good. The guys put on a good show, and from what was said in our Meet the Players interview, is that Wallace is aiming for the treble. I should hope so. The amount of money you spend on players. If Tim Wallace said he wasn't aiming for a Grand Slam, then I would question his commitment to the piece. That devastating news if he said, "Nah, we're only after one." Elsewhere from that Saturday, Peterborough then, let's say, putting 8 goals past Telford, 2 for Alish Padalek, 2 for Mr. Ferrara on his return. Scott Robson, Lucas Sadkowski, and another 2 for Martin Susters. Susters was really good last year when he came back, a big piece in that Peterborough machine. Now he's back for the full season. How impactful will he be early on? No prizes for guessing who scored the 2 goals for the Telford Tigers. Both goals coming from the man they call the Bazooka, Vladimir Luka. Just skipping back through the other bits and pieces. Then so Swindon with that 5-4 win over Bristol, having initially been 1 goal down. Goals for the Cats coming from Gail Lewelly, Tomasz Malazinski, Glenn Billing, Reed Sayers, and Chris Jones. Goals for the Dogs coming from Mason Lipsey, Juhal Lindgren, Bailey Harewood, and Adam Harding. Fantastic, it should be said, that Adam Harding is back on the ice, able to kind of seemingly go at the level that we expect Adam Harding to be able to go at. That's really, really exciting. I'm really, really pleased that he's been able to roll with that so far. That's just really good. And then Saturday, that 2-2 draw, which of course was commentated by our friend Joe Scutts, who's in the chat there. A 2-2 draw between the Bees and the Raiders. Goals for the Bees coming from Adam Rossbottom and player coach Dom Gabai. Goals for the Raiders coming from Nick Leyer, whose pre-season has been pretty outstanding so far, and a short-handed goal from friend of everyone, Jacob Ransom. That leads us into Sunday. He says, desperately skipping forward through the bits and pieces from Andrew. As the final scores from Sunday's pre-season game. So the Everyone Active Shield is making its way down around the M25 to Essex, a 5-2 win for the Raiders over the Bees on Sunday evening. Bristol with the win over Swindon with that says 4 goals to 2. I thought it was closer than that. Hull with a 5-3 win against Sheffield after their game last Friday against the Steel Dogs, which the Dogs won, and a 6-3 win for the Tigers over the Phantoms. So pulling back from that bad loss the day before. Potty posting a hint on a new import. What was that? New import. I put money on it being Stepanek. Yeah, probably wouldn't either. Adam Harding didn't look out of place at all. In all fairness, nice to see him back. That's great. So in terms of Sunday, then, decent win for the Bristol Pitbulls, obviously having lost the night before. A good 4-2 win at home to help them round out a relatively decent pre-season. Obviously, those 2 games against the D-side Dragons, they were a bit lopsided, so getting a real test in the form of the Wildcats is really good. Goals for the Dogs coming from Juhal Lindgren, 2 from Nick Korich and 1 from Ralph Sisenis. The goals for the Wildcats coming from Shaw and Lewelly in that one. The Raiders, like I said, a 5-2 win gives them the Everyone Active Shield, so congratulations to them. It's like winning the Audi Cup if you're Arsenal. Well done. Another goal on the weekend for Jacob Ranson, 2 in 2 nights. He won't know what to do with himself on that one. And other goals as well from Aaron Connolly, Brandon Aliff, and 2 from Adam Leishram. Goals for the Bees coming from Vanya Antonov and Harry Harkup. The Seahawks with a 5-3 win against the Steel Dogs, pretty solid win there. 2 goals from Emerald Speck, 2 from Bobby Chamberlain, who is playing right now, in fact, for the Manchester Storm against the Coventry Blaze. And 1 from Finley Ulrich. Goals for the Dogs coming in the form of 2 from Vlad Volkanovs and 1 from Jack Brammer. Someone else playing in that Manchester Coventry game is Finley Howells. He's dressing again for the Blaze this evening. He had a goal in the Tigers' 6-3 win over Peterborough. Goals as well from Sam Watkins, Harry Ferguson, Scott McKenzie, and 2 again from Vlad Luka. Goals for the Phantoms coming from Alish Padalek, Martin Susters, and Lucas Sladkowski. But then, so a mishmash of bits and pieces there as we head towards the opening weekend of the National Division, which kicks off this coming Friday night in Peterborough. The Phantoms and the Hull Seahawks will have the honour of opening up the National Division, and we're already down 1 team because we because as we know, Basingstoke have stepped aside. But certainly from opening weekend, we're now missing games. We're missing games, in fact, from the opening 2 weekends of competition in the National Division because of the news out of Swindon that the Swindon Wildcats have had to postpone the opening 2 home fixtures of the season. Heavy rain, I mean, you can hear the heavy rain outside my window if you listen closely enough. But massive heavy rain over the last couple of days in Swindon caused flooding across the town. Issues in a bunch of different places. A branch of Sainsbury's closed. Soft play centres, museums, a bunch of different places impacted by the bad weather. And one place very heavily impacted was the Link Centre. Words of 4 to 5 feet of water pooling up in some places. The Cats, of course, have put out a statement saying that the games this coming Saturday, the 23rd of September, against the Sheffield Steel Dogs, and the following week's game against the Milton Keynes Lightning on the 30th of September, these are both postponed as of now. This has thrown my plans into disarray because I was going to be in Swindon on Saturday night, which I'm now unable to do. I'm still planning where to go at the moment. I've got a forerunner at the moment because the club have said they'll have a chat to me about popping down there, so we will see what happens with that one. For the Cats statement, in case you haven't read it, it is on Swindon's website. Wildcats and the Steel Dogs and Lightning are working together to identify a suitable date for rescheduled games. We understand the inconvenience this may cause. We appreciate your understanding during this time. While we do not have a confirmed date for the rescheduled game, we will keep fans updated through our official website, social media channels and email. We'd like to extend our gratitude to our fans, sponsors and partners for your unwavering support and understanding. Now, I said the other day that this is a real kick in the teeth for the Cats because, of course, this comes off the back of the news they had recently that they were going to have to reduce the capacity of the balcony because of the issues that they've had with one of the exterior stairwells that's caused an issue that has affected the balcony there. So the Cats have lost 120 seats. That meant they were going to put up the prices for games in October, which at the moment they're still playing games in October, so we will see what happens there. I did chat very, very briefly to Ben Callahan, just kind of check in. There's no news outside of the club other than what's been announced. Steve Nell, of course, the owner of the Wildcats and the Leeds Knights, was on BBC Radio Wiltshire yesterday evening around sort of just after 5 o'clock. So in terms of kind of the sort of the news there, for those of you who are unable to hear what happened on Radio Wiltshire, the summary was kind of pretty much this. They've obviously talked about the games that they have postponed. As of 5 p.m. yesterday, the ice was still there in Swindon, but due to the lack of power, they are expecting the pad to have melted by around this time today. The Cats are exploring options in terms of training in Bristol and or Cardiff, and they are committed at the moment to any planned away fixtures. The issue at the moment is just playing and training at home for Swindon right now. You would guess that Lightning game for the Cats will go midweek, possibly October half term. I think if I'm Swindon, it's probably looking that way. I think given the fact this game is probably going to be moved to midweek, that's a big no for me. So I'm going to have to try and get that ticket refunded as and when the original date, when a new date, is confirmed. For the Cats, though, this is another kick in the teeth after another kick in the teeth. I said certainly one of the things I was thinking. I'll say this out loud here is that there's got to be this is bad infrastructure in terms of the link right now. Like obviously a lot of stuff is going to need to be checked. A lot of stuff is going to need to be looked at. Is everything is the building going to be okay? Now by the sounds of it, if the ice has held up that long, that speaks to the fact that some of the bits related to the ice rink are not super heavily affected. The issue is going to be getting in and getting out of the rink for the most part. Getting into the building, because my understanding is that sort of the entrance ways into the link have been very, very heavily affected by the water. The plant room, and from my understanding this is sort of the plant room in terms of the electrics for the building, had a lot of water in it. So they've apparently now pumped the water out according to the reports in the Swindon Advertiser, and now it's about getting the power back on, getting things working again, and kind of what Swindon do from there. The one thing we do say though is we do send all our best to all the folk in Swindon. It's been a bit of bad news after a bit of bad news for them relatively recently. We just hope everything is able to kind of be back up and running and Cats fans can get their home opener played as soon as possible. What we've got in the chat. Well done to Bristol and Solway for putting their game free to watch on YouTube at the weekend. Indeed, great way to advertise the product rather than charging £15 leads for a pre-season game. In fact, paying £15 for a stream is way too much anyway. Going to head to Oxford this Sunday. Was going to watch the D2 sides opening game, but obviously can't now. No, obviously the Wildcats 2 will be that game as well. Their game with Guildford obviously postponed. Chris Gansby, of course, joining us. Fantastic to see you as always, Chris. Let's go Lions. We've got a point. It's a point. A point is a point is a point. Good luck getting a refund out of Swindon. Well, I've got Aaron Nell's email now, so he can't escape that one. I've also got his, so you know he can't escape me. So I will find a way on that front. Silly question regarding the ice, but if it is melted, will that mean they have to repaint the ice? If so, I imagine that won't be cheap. Might just be lines and no logos. I would be interested to see what happens with that one. I genuinely don't know. It would be very, very. I think given the contract Swindon will have in terms of advertising, the logos might have to go back on the ice. But also as well, it was worth noting that the link should have insurance for this kind of thing. And insurance might be used to pay back some of those costs, not all of them. Also, as well, it's in the sponsor's interest to be there and be noticed. So maybe they might help pony up a bit of the money and help on that front. I don't necessarily know. I'm not going to guess on that front, but we need to, we need to just kind of see what happens on that front there and kind of work it out from there. Just trying to do some other bits and pieces in the background whilst we're here. And we just need to. Sorry, I'm just fiddling around with bits and pieces. As like I said, the tech just went a bit wonky. Just before we came on air, which was very, very irritating and very, very frustrating. And the stuff just isn't quite working the way I'd like it to. But you can't win everything, obviously, on that front. There we go. That'll have to do in terms of that for the minute. Because, yeah, as you can see, I'm a little bit grainy because literally as we were talking right at the top of the show, everything went... what else have we got here? I'll just have to save my voice for the away trips now. Indeed you will, Charlotte. Indeed you will. It is going to be a bit of a tough road. I'm certainly interested to see what the Cats do in terms of that. I am locked in for the Swindon, for the weekend of that Swindon doubleheader in Dumfries. So their games against Solway will be at the Saturday game, not the Sunday game. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with the Cats now in terms of fans and the like, and sort of moving things, getting around, doing what they need to do to just kind of sort of focus. Training is going to be the big one for the Cats, really. I said that the Cats had the widest window of possibility of where they could kind of end up this year, and I maintain that. I think if they find a way to win games with what I think is not the best of defences, then the title isn't out of the question given the attacking firepower that they have. But you're kind of going to get kneecapped if you can't train. That's going to be really bad and really, really tough for them on that front. Either way, the one thing that we do have, of course, is that we do have games happening this weekend in the National Division, and it does all rock and roll this coming weekend, which is going to be exciting to see. Obviously, it would have been nice to get to Swindon. It would have been nice to kind of kick off with the to be able to kick off with the with that game in Swindon, but it's just not going to be, unfortunately. Either way, what we do is we hop ourselves across and just have a quick squiz at the fixtures, so we can see there that all roads lead to Peterborough on Friday night and the opening of the 23-24 National Division, possibly the last one under the purview of the EIHA. But Peterborough take on Hull in Bretton at 7:30, and then Saturday we get rocking and rolling proper. The Bees will be at home to the Peterborough Phantoms at the Hangar. At the world's most versatile arena, the Hull Seahawks and the Swindon Wildcats. Ooh. Are we back? This is the real trick here. Are we back? Let's see if this has worked. Very, very hard to tell. Let's just transition back to me for a sec. Can I get stuff working? Now that's a promising noise. We're working through the tech gremlins here, unfortunately. Is the chat gonna load? Is the chat gonna load? Hey, that looks better. That looks better. That looks much better. Who doesn't love the back end of a hurricane? This is very true. Right, are we better? Are we back? Are we better? If I do this, we'll get the fixtures back. Hey, there we go. Where were we? Yeah, there's hockey happening. There's hockey happening. There are the fixtures. I'm not going through that again on that front. Deary me, what a palaver we've had. What a palaver we've had this evening on that front. Thank you very much to everybody for sticking with us on this front. It's been a trial, hasn't it? It's been a bit of a trial so far, but we persevere on. Either way, one thing we'll do. So, like I say, if you're going to a National Division game this weekend, I really do hope you enjoy it. One thing we do need to do, though, of course, we need to look at the other divisions of the NIHL, and we will start. Actually, you know what? Let's start at the other end of bits and pieces. Let's go down into South 2 and have a chat about South 2 just for a minute. If nothing else, because Cameron Mercer, your friend of mine who works for the Haringey Huskies, big win on Saturday evening for the Huskies. That 2-1 shootout win over Bristol. Bristol now 0-2 to start the season. The league champions picking up their first point, but without a win so far in their first 2 weekends from the 16th. Elsewhere on Saturday in South 2, whopping great win for the Cardiff Fire. A 12-0 tonking they handed out to the Lee Valley Lions on Saturday, and then in the local derby down there in Chelmsford, a 3-2 win for the Chelmsford Warriors over the Invicta Mustangs. Chelmsford now the early pace setters, of course. They've won 2 from 2 in South 2. The playoff champions start their season with defeat, and then a couple of games on the South Coast on Sunday. A huge win to start off their campaign. Obviously, their game the weekend before in Basingstoke cancelled because of problems with the ice plant and it being too hot. We're now getting games cancelled for being too wet, which is great. But the Basingstoke Buffalo start off with a 9-1 thumping of the Stretton Blackhawks. A 3+3 night from Hallam Wilson and a 2+2 night from Paul Petts for that one. And then Cardiff, well, they scored 18 goals on the weekend, but only have 3 points to show for it. A 7-6 defeat in Gosport against the Solent Junior Devils. The Devils pulling back in that game to get into overtime, but ultimately falling short. And a good start for the Junior Devils, who, of course, have always been lurking in and around near the bottom of the table there in South 2. Will this be a bigger and better year for the Junior Devils? Either way, though, fixtures coming up this weekend in South 2. A couple of games there on Saturday, 5:45 p.m. the first home game of the new season for the playoff champion Invicta Mustangs. They take on Streatham, and then 2 games at 6:30 on Saturday. The Basingstoke Buffalo take on the Bristol Pitbulls, and the Peterborough Phantoms take on the Cardiff Fire. We know, of course, Sunday's game that was scheduled between Swindon and Guildford is off in South 2, but plenty of other action across South 2 to have a look at. Bristol are at home at 4:15. They take on the Oxford Rising Stars. Lee Valley Lions are back at home. It's the London Derby between the Lions and the Haringey Huskies at 5:30. And then a 6:45 p.m. face-off on the high road for the Stretton Blackhawks. They are at home against the Solent Junior Devils. So as I said, Chelmsford are the early pace setters in there. Back-to-back wins for the Warriors as they start out their campaign. Obviously, a lot of hockey left to be played. Guildford now are going to have a game in hand, which, given how strong they look again, is going to be interesting for that one. But yeah, it's early days, obviously, in South in South 2. So we look forward to kind of seeing how that league progresses. Either way, in North 2 though, it was the battle of the brand new sides on Saturday evening at the world's most versatile arena. The Kingston Sharks and the Billingham Buccaneers met, and the Buccaneers are on the board. They have points after their 4-2 win down in Hull. Another win for the Sutton Sting coming off their productive weekend last time out. They got a 6-4 win over the Coventry Blaze. And the league champion, the champs are rocking and rolling again. A 4-2 win for the Telford Tigers over the Nottingham Lions 2. And then they went back-to-back. A 9-2 win for the Tigers away in Altrincham at the Aces. And Sutton with another dominating win. They won in Billingham by 8-2 against the Buccaneers. And then the Sheffield Titans, who fared a bit better in North 2 than the Shinzals did in North 1. The Titans with a 6-1 win, a dominating win in their derby against the Nottingham Lions 2. So that leads into the fact that we've got a few games this weekend. Those of you unfamiliar with North 2, much smaller division than South 2. South 2 with 13 teams, North 2 with just the 8. So games do end up getting a bit sort of spread out, but there's plenty of action to be had this weekend. The Billingham Buccaneers will make their first trip to the Sky Dome. They take on the Coventry NIHL Blaze on Saturday at 7 p.m. And a 7:40 p.m. face-off for the Sheffield Titans, their big local derby against the Sutton Sting at a unusual face-off time on a Saturday night. But you take what you're given, I suppose, at I Sheffield, given how busy that place is. Sunday then, a couple of 1 p.m. face-off at I Sheffield for the Sutton Sting against the Kingston Sharks. The Sharks' first visit there, and then 5:30 p.m. face-offs both in Billingham for the Buccaneers against the Sheffield Titans, and a 5:30 p.m. face-off for the Bradford Bulldogs, their first attempt at the Nottingham Lions 2 this year. 5:45 p.m. face-off at Altrincham, the Aces, and the Coventry NIHL Blaze. Hello Danny, thank you for joining us on what has been one of the worst nights technically I've had in quite some time. We've had the camera fail, we've had the stream fail and come back. We're blaming the weather. That's all we're doing on that front. So thank you for joining us for that one, my good man. Then we head into where I spent my weekend last weekend, which was in the wonderful confines of South 1, and what I think promises to be a really exciting division in terms of some of the quality that is going to be on display. Of course, we had one game in the division. What was that? Hi, Coach Buddy. I think that's Chris saying that to Danny. But yes, only one game the previous weekend in South 1 as the champions got off and running with their win against MK. But a fair few games this previous weekend. And Streatham, well, they were given a test at Sapphire Ice and Leisure by the Romford Buccaneers. But ultimately, the league champions go 2 for 2 with their 4-2 win away in Essex. Then there is the game I was at, which was the 5-3 win for the Solent Devils against the Invicta Dynamos. The Devils, no pre-season. Aaron Taylor back in net for the first time in 7 years on ice in a competitive game. And this game was a lot of fun. There is, of course, the write-up, Banners on the Road, our second instalment for the season. It's there on bannersonthewall.wordpress.com for that more in-depth look at this game. You know what? It was not a hockey classic for the ages. You're not going to get lots of free-flowing passing in Solent just because of how small the ice is. Was it entertaining? Absolutely. It was a great game, end-to-end. First period was all one way, second period was all the other, and the third period was sort of a battle of attrition. Solent ultimately were the smarter team in their rink. Invicta tried to play big ice hockey on very, very small ice. They had ideas, but they just couldn't execute. The Devils played the game to perfection, spent a lot of the second on the back foot. Maybe they were tired, maybe it was a bit of energy conservation. They sort of did ride their luck a little bit in the second because it could have been quite bad for them at points. But credit where it's due, the Devils persevered and they muscled their way through. I said you can't write Solent off. I said I didn't know what we were going to get. It looks like we're going to get a lot of the same. But teams who are going into Solent are going to need to do much better with their game plan than what Invicta did this time out. But you can read my full in-depth analysis of that game at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. And then into Sunday, well, it was a tough first period for the Oxford City Stars. A mad couple of minutes sees them almost blown out by the Chelmsford Chieftains. Ultimately, the Stars hold the Chieftains at bay to only 5-1, but it was 5-0 at the end of the first period here. The game pretty much over before it started. as the New Look Chieftains look to assert themselves into this new division. Invicta with that bad loss on the Saturday evening, they respond with some very, very pretty goals, it should be said, at home against the Romford Buccaneers. A 7-3 win for Carl Lennon's side. And then the champs have done it again. They are 3 for 3. A much even tougher prospect than the one before. A very attritional game and lots of excitement had on the high road, but a 3-1 win for Ben Painter's side, having gone a goal down against the Slough Jets. But the Redhawks start off the season perfect, 3 for 3 with that 3-1 win. What that means heading into this weekend then is there's only the 2 games on the Saturday, and Gosport again, 5 p.m, Solent versus Slough. That should be a really, really interesting game. Slough are a very, very quick side. I'm interested to see what they do with the lack of space against Solent there. And then 5:15 p.m. on Saturday, the Romford Buccaneers and the Chelmsford Chieftains for the local Essex derby. On Sunday, Invicta then at home against Chelmsford. That'll be a very, very big test for both sides. Very fascinated to see how that one goes. 6:15 p.m. face-off between the Oxford City Stars and the Slough Jets. Can the Stars rebound from their bad loss the week before against Chelmsford? How will Slough be, having lost to Streatham and then having played the night before against Solent? What kind of Slough Jets are we going to see coming into the Ox Pens on Sunday? And then 6:45 p.m, as is traditional for them, the MK Thunder are rocking and rolling again in the Thunderdome for 23-24. They take on the Romford Buccaneers. Like I said, I'm looking for places to go on Sunday. There's a few games in Saturday or Sunday. There's a few games in South 1 that look very, very interesting to me. Obviously South 2 have got some options as well. I'm not going to go to a National Division game this weekend now, given the fact, if nothing else, I will definitely be at one the weekend after. So I can probably put myself into a position where I can hit South 1, then National, then South 2 in the space of 3 weeks, which will be pretty awesome. That's kind of what I'm going for. I've had a lot of people say to me, Anthony, when are you coming to a game in North 1? When are you coming to a game in North 2? As some of you may or may not remember, I live in Southampton. Everywhere is the north for me, pretty much. Getting to games up north is going to be tough. I've obviously made this trip to go up to Solway, so it takes a bit of planning and a bit of effort and a bit of time. Maybe Solihull becomes a possibility for a North 1 game. I've had a lot of people say, Anthony, you need to come to Billingham, we'll get you a chicken parmo, but I can't do Billingham and back in a day. It's going to take a lot of planning if I want to do Billingham and back. But definitely thinking about what I can do, because a fair few people have said, Anthony, you need to come check out North 1. I'm going to have to do some serious thinking and some serious planning about it, but we will figure out how we do that going forward. I'd love to get up to Billingham. I've heard lots of great people at Billingham. Craig Simpson, Carol Hunter, and stuff like that from Stars TV. Whitley. It'd be fantastic to do it. Do I get a chance to do it this season? I don't know. But this is the thing we're gonna have to check out, because I need to be able to do it where I can do it properly, and I need to be fair to Emily and Nathan into the bargain as well. So we need to focus on that. Either way, let's have a quick squiz as well as we can. North 1. We kick ourselves across there. So there we go. So obviously a couple of games last weekend. And Saturday, well, if you haven't seen it, I do recommend you go and see it. Not the greatest of results for the Nottingham Lions, playing on the big pad at the NIC and losing 2-0 to the Whitley Warriors. However, the big talking point out of this, of course, was Whitley missing the empty net from a metre out. Top of the crease, missed the empty net. If you've not seen the video, it's on Instagram. I think it's on TikTok as well. Go and hunt it out. It is hilarious. And Nottingham, unfortunately, as much as we love the Lions here at the What's Current stream, losing is not unusual for them. Having the team that won missing the empty net from a metre away is objectively funny, and you just have to kind of roll with that one. But the first of a few games, I believe it's 5 games on the big pad for Nottingham this year. Hopefully they can get some better results next time out when they play on the larger ice at the NIC. The only other game then from Saturday in North 1, a big win for the Billingham Stars. They beat the Deeside Dragons by 7 goals to 2. Sunday then, it didn't get better for Deeside. The reverse of that home and home, played in North Wales, and 8 goals for Billingham this time, an 8-3 win for the Stars in that one, who, having had that initial opening night loss to Hull, are starting to pick up a little bit of momentum now, which is good for them early. Whitley with back-to-back shutouts this weekend, a 3-0 win over the Sheffield Scimitars up at Hillhead. And the Lions have a point already on the board, which is fantastic for them. They do go down by 4-3 in overtime against the Widnes Wild, but they did get them to overtime. Also, though, a good result for Widnes and an early good start for that new look Wild roster with some very, very powerful net minding in the form of the fact they'll be able to call on both Harrison Walker and Luca Tassadri for games this coming season. And then the Solihull Barons, the other overtime winning game, the Barons with that 4-3 overtime win against the Blackburn Hawks. The Hawks, of course, going to be a really interesting prospect this season, not just because of names in there like Adam Barnes and Tate Shudra and Bobby Streetley, but of course the Hawks are taking part in the Northern League. They're, of course, in this small competition with a couple of other Scottish sides like Accordy, like Kilmarnock. Very interested to see how the Hawks will fare in dealing with those sort of separate competitions and where they sort of look to put their focus in terms of progressing as much as possible. Obviously, you want to win everything, but would the Hawks sacrifice wins one place to be able to do wins in another? Either way, the fact that the SNL sides are getting involved with an NIHL side, great prospect. We've seen some really competitive games already. They've had a few pre-season games against each other too. Should be fantastic. I don't know, Joe, whether Joe's still in chat, but I don't know whether he's intending to put Northern League games on the website. If he's able to, that'd be fantastic. But of course, it's Joe's website. He can do with it what he wants. If he wants to leave those out, that's entirely his decision. 5 games on the big pad, says Chris. That's fantastic. Thank you for that. Either way, upcoming weekend then, plenty of action in North 1. A pretty full Saturday as well, actually, all things considered. 4:40 p.m, the Sheffield Scimitars against the Solihull Barons at Ice Sheffield. 5:30 p.m. then, the Hull Jets take on the Deeside Dragons at the world's most versatile arena. 6 p.m. face-off in Blackburn for the Hawks and the Billingham Stars. And then the Whitley Warriors go to action at 7 p.m. at Hillheads against the Widnes Wild. Sunday, 5:15 p.m. face-off for the Deeside Dragons at home against the Whitley Warriors. 5:30 p.m. face-offs at Hobbsmoat Road for the Solihull Barons and the Billingham Stars. And on Merseyside for the Widnes Wild against the Blackburn Hawks. And then the other big local derby, we had it last weekend in Division 2, we get it in Division 1 this coming weekend. 7:20 p.m. face-off at the small pad at the NIC. And that is the Nottingham Lions against the Sheffield Scimitars. I look to Mr. Gadsby. I assume we will get a stream for that game live on YouTube. Believe that's organised by the SNL, so I don't get those game sheets. That's fair enough. That's fair enough, my good man. I thought I would ask. I wasn't sure what the plan was there on that one. Let's have a drink. Let's make sure we're hydrated on that one. But either way, plenty of action this upcoming weekend. Like I say, I'm finalising my plans for what I do now that Swindon is no longer an option for me. But in terms of what's coming up for me, so this weekend, TBC. The following weekend after the BOTW Great Journey across the thing will take us to Slough. I will be at the hangar for the Bees and the Leeds night. Stream is the plan, but I'm busy getting married, so others have to sort it. Yep, that's fair enough. Congratulations on that, Chris. Of course, that's obviously been coming up for a while, but I'm glad that the day is finally here. Congratulations on getting married in hockey season. You great fool. But yeah, so I'll be at Slough on the 1st of October, joining poor Joe Scutts. Essentially, his co-commentators. It's like the drummers in Spinal Tap. It's just a rotating round of people. But I will be with Joe for that one. And then the following weekend, I'm due to be in Guildford for the Guildford Phoenix and the Basingstoke Buffalo. That is my sort of upcoming run of stuff at the moment. That's as far as I've got planned for now. The only game I've got officially penciled in, of course, is up in Solway at the beginning of November. But Battles on the Road is just going to kind of run. You're going to, like you've seen from the last couple of match pieces, Assuming we survive the car ride. Assuming we survive the car ride up. Well, assuming as well we can find the parking space we booked, Joe. That'll be the other issue as well. We've got to get the car parked, but that'll be the. We'll deal with that one as it comes. But yeah, Banners on the Road is just going to kind of be a bit of a mishmash of stuff because I'm going to a lot of places that I've either not been to for a while or never been. So it's going to be a lot of. It's going to be a bit of a mishmash of kind of sort of game analysis and analysis of kind of the sort of the space and the place and the atmosphere. I'm trying to bring people along on the journey with me because one of the things I want to be able to do is to kind of. And it's not a case of sort of shining everything in a great light if I don't enjoy myself. I think I've got to the point now, if I don't like something, I'll tell you I don't like it. But I want to give people like a real aspect of what I've seen. So I've obviously been so heavily involved with Basingstoke for such a long time. And I didn't get to as many away games as I could have done or wanted to, but because I made that choice of doing stuff in Basingstoke and spending as much time with my family as I possibly could. Well, now I've got the opportunity to kind of go anywhere and everywhere. I'm still going to go to Buffalo games. Like I said, I'm going to Guildford to watch them away. But I want Banners on the Road to be less one team specific analysis like Running with the Herd obviously was. And I just want to kind of give people sort of an idea of like what is, one man's view of what you get when you go to places and what sort of hockey you're going to see and what have we seen in this particular game, because it's not just a case of, like this was the score and this is who scored it kind of thing, but this is my opportunity to kind of try and showcase people and places to other people. So you think, oh, maybe I will go check out a game in Gosport, or maybe I will go check out NIHL 2, or maybe I will see what this player is like and this kind of thing. I just kind of want to open that door for people to kind of say, actually, you know what, like, yeah, if I'm at a loose end, maybe my team aren't playing, or maybe I'm feeling a bit disillusioned with stuff, I can go somewhere else, try something else. Because the strange thing is that I don't want to be doing it. I would give limbs to be back in Basingstoke on a Saturday night at 6:30 with my team and my friends in the way I was used to and that I've had now for over a decade. I would give blood. I would give anything I could to have that back. And I can't have that. I don't get that now. And I have a choice to let it either melt away or walk into the unknown. And I've said it a lot, I'm just going to walk into the unknown and take the sport that I love and just appreciate it and observe it and absorb it in a different way and meet new people and see different things and get different perspectives, because I think it will make me a better writer and content creator, and I think it will improve my hockey knowledge, and I think it will make me better at this kind of thing. And I get the joy of doing bits and pieces and seeing different people. Like I'm going to get the opportunity of commentating with one of the people who I think is one of the best people in this country at doing this in Joe. And I don't say that because he's my friend. I say that because he's really, really good at commentating. And I'm really fascinated to be able to have that experience in a rink that I've not been to a massive amount. And against teams that I don't see play each other a lot. So, I'm just trying to grasp these opportunities, do these different things, and just be in, try and be. It sounds very mindfulnessy, but I do practice a bit of mindfulness because it's really, really helped with my personal anxieties. I'm just trying to enjoy the moments. I had a decade and a half's worth of moments that I now don't get to have anymore, and I have to just park and pack away as a memory, and so I'm going to make new ones. And hopefully, like I said, I think it's going to make me a better writer. I think it's going to make me a better content creator. I think it's going to give me a better understanding of an appreciation of what we get and this sport that we have. Because I think that's what's going to keep driving me on to keep holding, speaking truth to power and holding people to account and calling a spade and saying when things are bad when they're bad and when they're good that they're good. And I like to think that people appreciate that when I say those things, I'm not saying it for clicks, I'm not saying it for clout, I'm not saying it for people to read the next thing that I write. I'm saying it because I mean it and because that people can trust that I'm honest when I say it. And I think this great exploration I'm doing is going to make me better for it, I think. I won't be on the stream next week because I'm spending my birthday evening at the Thunderdome next Wednesday. Utterly understandable, Jamie, and of course Jamie, who's one of the original sort of watchers of the What's Going stream. So very happy birthday to you, sir, for next week. I sincerely hope you enjoy it. A massive thank you for your support of the stuff that I do. It is greatly appreciated. I'm really, really, really pleased that you're part of the community that we built up here on Wednesday nights for the stream. So great to have you. Great to have you. Have a really, really great night, Jamie. I'm interested to see how Bobby does. How Bobby does in his return to the Thunderdome. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we've gone through every game across the NIHL National Division. So, of course, as we usually do here on the stream at the end, towards the end now, the door is open. We've gone through everything. We've beaten away the tech gremlins. We've beaten away the bad weather for the most part. So it's open door. Questions, comments, anything anybody wants to kind of throw into the chat. Let's just shoot. Let's shoot the breeze. Let's shoot the breeze for 5-10 minutes. Let's see what's out there. Do we have a score from Coventry? Of course, is something that we need to touch on. Let's just check what's going on with the Blaze. So the Blaze were a goal to the good against the Nottingham Lions. And not the Blaze were against the Manchester Storm, not the Nottingham Lions. Thank you, Chris Gansby. You threw me for a loop there. Let's get the Manchester Storm up. I do like the fact that whenever I type in Manchester on my Twitter, it immediately suggests I get the Manchester Phoenix, which is nice of it. Ended the second period in Manchester, then 2-1 to the Storm. I see Alex Oldale has got himself onto the ice for the Storm as well, which is pretty good. Will Bray in between the pipes, so 2 British netliners on there in that one, which is pretty good. How many points will the Lions end up with this season? I am going for 10. I think it's going to be a tough year for the Lions, but I think they will make double figures. But but the Scimitars look worse than the Lions on this one. So 7th place, double digits in points for the Lions, I think, on that one. I normally don't like to predict exact league positions, but I think the bottom of North 1 is a relatively easy one to call, just like the bottom of South 1 was relatively easy to call, it should be said. Panthers ran rings around Coventry last weekend, but running rings around people in pre-season doesn't count for diddly squat, is the issue that you've got there. Being good in pre-season is, it's like being good in rehearsals. That's all it is. Bodes well, but you don't know what Coventry will have learned from that. Don't forget they had 15 last season before deductions. Yeah, I'm interested as well though to see what Hull do. I think Hull are a big X factor. Title winning X factor in North 1? No. But I think it's going to be harder to get points out of them. After watching Herman last 2 weeks, has me convinced he'll be hitting the 50-60 goal mark. I can't remember what he was on. What was he on points for last year? Let's get that up very quickly actually. Let's just quickly get that. Rory Herman, elite prospect, because let's just quickly do some maths on Rory Herman then, on that front. So Rory Herman last year with Telford was 23 in 21, so just over a point per game. So he wouldn't have been at the 60-point mark, but he certainly would have been over the 50-point mark goal-wise, and he was averaging an assist a game, so he would have been close to 100. He would have been well over the 100 points on that front. That's also good as well when you consider last year he played 7 games with no points for Cardiff, and actually did play 16 games for RPI in the for the RPI Engineers in the NCAA Division 1. He had a busy year, did Rory Herman, but I think he appears to have found his level at the in the NIHL. Yeah, I've just been sent a video by some of the folk from Solway, but it's just me. It's just them laughing at their preview video. I'm live at the Mo. I'm live on. Let's tell the folk in Solway I'm live on stream at the Mo, because the folk from Sharks TV are just dropping me a message. So that's always good fun on stream at the Mo. Let's tell them that. And then what we'll do is we'll ping them that one and they can come and join us if they feel like doing it. Over a 56-game season, it would have been 61 plus... The blooming thing's in the way. 61 plus 56 for 117. Why have I worked that out? It's because I've undercounted the games. I've undercounted the amount of games in my head. For some reason, it's still stuck in my head that we played 54. For some stupid reason, even though we didn't. It's 56. That's my fault on that one. But yeah... there's a lot of people keep talking about folk having like 100-point seasons, and I'd be very interested to see how many actually do it, I think is the thing. Herman's obviously got to be a candidate for it given his scoring last year. A lot of people are very big on Nick Leia. A lot of people are very big on Mason Alderson. People have said John Dunbar's going to get 100 points this year. It remains to be seen. Pete, you couldn't make it to Stockton as the young'uns are playing the Art Deco Theatre on the Globe. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, for those people that are unaware, if you've never listened to the young'uns, go and listen to the young'uns. As somebody who has spent most of his adult life listening to really, really heavy rock, metal, punk, bits and pieces like that, the young'uns are a breath of fresh air. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you if you can't enjoy the young'uns. The young'uns are great, but they are of course they are from Stockton. And very much sons of the northeast, so should be good. Herman on a line with Ruckus and Wallace should be fun. Yes, that's third line. Tom's Ruckus apparently. Let's hope the crowd continues to improve. MK will likely be around 2,000 or so on Saturday night. You'd hope so for the home opener. You want that. I mean, it's been a bit of a weird pre-season, all things considered, for MK. They've literally lurched from one end of the spectrum, making it sort of astronomically hard for themselves against Coventry by them playing a knockabout game with the Thunder. So it'll be interesting to see how they do there. Even watching Ben Brown on a second line with Venus and Lawrence, I do like that. That's also a very good use of Ross Venus, I think, as well. So fair play on that one. Obviously used to playing with a lot of imports, so putting him on the line with the former Elite League import is a relatively smart bit of business there by Tim Wallace. So interested to see how that one plays out, obviously, because we all are. Any other bits of news that are kind of floating in at the moment? People are rocking and rolling there. The Sharks TV person said, "Sorry," I said, "Come join the fun." Do that. That's the joy about doing a stream rather than doing some sort of like really, really crisp, professionally produced shows. That I can do what I want because I'm in charge of everything. Any other big bits of news? How many points do you expect Luwele to get? 60-ish, I think. The thing with Gale is he doesn't have to lead the line like he did in Basingstoke, but the Cats being so offensively, so attacking minded, he'll get a good view. Just checking, there's no other big bits of news at the moment. Sheffield and Coventry fans still yapping away at each other. Brad Marchand, the new captain of the Boston Bruins, because you're going to be one of the most dislikable franchises in the NHL. Get one of the most disliked captains with it. We had a fourth and last week of Max Stewart, Grinnell Park and Field. Yeah, what do you expect with Llewellyn? 150 penalty minutes too. Yep, he's going to get hosed again. He's going to get hosed again and get called for hitting hard instead of hitting illegally, which is my big concern with Gale. He has to adapt himself to what's being called, irrespective of the fact that, like I say, last year some of the calls on him were not good. Andrew Glenn, Sharks TV, the man behind the microphone, the master of Zoom is in the house. Hello, sir. Good evening to you. Man, who must be very excited as everybody else in Solway is. Obviously, pre-season is what it is. It's great for people to kind of, for them to get there, get the barometer out, see where the Sharks are going to be. But Saturday is the big one. It all begins for real. Martin Grubb, Jamie Thompson, people like Struan Tonner, Ross Murray, they've all been chomping at the bit for this chance to prove themselves. And that's they can finally get the opportunity now. To do that. That video I've been sent by Sharks TV is Ross Murray is Peanut himself in the gym, which might be a first for him. What do you make about the Mike Babcock situation? For those of you unfamiliar, of course, Mike Babcock has resigned as the coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets in the NHL. Stories emerging about him requesting to go through people's phones and look at photographs and bits and pieces like that. The really simple way of doing this was Babcock shouldn't have been hired in the first place, and it was a terrible hire by the Blue Jackets to do it anyhow. He was proven that he was an inappropriate person, giving the sensibilities of the modern age to be coaching in the NHL. And he should never have been anywhere near the place to start with. But given the suggestions of what he did, there was a really good article on Russian Machine Never Breaks that was titled "Boomer, You Don't Go Through People's Phones." And is what it is. I think the flip side of this as well, obviously there was a lot of stuff on Spitting Chicklets from Paul Bissonnette and Ray Whitney about this. They've ended up getting a good result in the wrong and going about it in the wrong way. The end doesn't justify the means. Like Paul Bissonnette's had to obviously apologise to Boone Jenner for dragging him into it. Shouldn't have done it in the first place. If you're going to do these things, there's a way to do them and a way to do them properly, and that's the way you should do them. And it's not, you can't just say, oh well, it turned out all right. Yeah, you got the result that's probably the right thing, but you have to do it in the right way. Sorry, folks. In fairness, I can't see any Wildcats player over 100 points simply because we are so strong offensively. We can afford to spread the points out, which is great in my opinion. That's very, very true. Brady Hepner retiring. Hopefully he's okay. Yeah, there's part of this situation I find very, very frustrating because obviously Brady Hepner is the forefront of this situation. Hopefully he is okay, and hopefully he is going to he's going to be well for the rest of his life, and he gets to go into retirement now and be okay and get himself set up properly for the rest of his life with a good job where he's able to get looked after, and if he has any lasting medical effects, then that's the important bit. The parallel track here is, given the issues that he was having, why did you sign? I think that's the question, and I think that's a fair question to ask. And the answer will kind of range from a bunch of stuff of, like, he's a hockey player and it's all he knows. He thought he'd be okay. He wanted to give it a go. He wanted to see what would happen. But that is money for Telford. Telford don't have tons of cash. And Telford are obviously sticking out, tweets saying, advertising for players, because they're now scrambling to find an import. That's an ITC paid for. That's jerseys paid for. That's accommodation and visas and all those kinds of things. That outlay of money it costs to get an import into the country. And you have to ask the question of, he's made the right choice for himself to be fit and well. You do have to wonder, could he have made this for himself earlier rather than coming to the country and doing it that way? I don't think that is an unfair question to ask, but it's a parallel, not exclusive track to the fact that ultimately Brady Hepner needs to be safe and well, and you can't play ice hockey safely and well and be well if you're having issues with concussion. You should not be on the ice. He's made the right decision for himself to go home and be well. So all the best to him. I hope he has a long and happy life as a result of it. And hopefully maybe he gets a way to give back, whether it's by coaching or whatever it is. He was okay moving cars from Scotland to Tyneside. I'm sure Peanut was, to be honest, yes. Wouldn't surprise me that he is. A massive thank you to everybody for putting up with the tech issues earlier in the stream. Very, very frustrating, but the bad weather appears to have kind of blown by a little bit. It sounds a little bit calmer outside my window now, and I think maybe just the weather just kind of went a bit wonky and knocked everything for six. But seems like we've kind of recovered a little bit. So a big thank you to everybody for kind of sticking with us this week. Not how we'd like to do things, but you can't win them all. Can't win them all. Oh, Babcock, he was okay moving cars from Scotland to Tyneside. Yes, he probably was. I do apologise. I've got my son's new fidget toy, which is alarmingly addictive to play with in terms of sort of keeping your mind focused. Massive amounts of fun. Really, I do enjoy playing with it. Playing with that, it should be said. I don't think there's any other huge amounts of news that are going on at the moment. Obviously, training camps are very, very close to opening for NHL teams. That should be a lot of fun. Connor Bedard, of course, has been lighting up the development camps for the Blackhawks. His release looks absolutely insane. I have ordered, I'm still waiting for it to turn up, but a box of 22, 23 CHL cards, which have got a couple of like Conor Bedard retrospectives in it. I figured I'd get in on the opportunity to get myself a box of that. So waiting for it to appear, but it's obviously having to come from Canada, and it just takes a really, really long time. It's the downside of ordering stuff from Canada. Canada Post are just rubbish. They're just really bad. But eventually stuff does get delivered. It just takes a bloody long time. It's really annoying. No other big news that I can see. The one thing I'll throw out there as well is I don't know what certainly hockey overseas. And what other hockey people are watching? Are people watching stuff in Europe? Do we have a little bit at the end of the streams talking about European hockey? Because Muggins here, I'll be honest, I use a VPN quite a lot because of my German speaking. Joe, fantastic to see you. For people in the chat, Joe is the fantastic chap who designed the graphics that I use. He's trying to make a bit of a name for himself in music. So hopefully he's. I know he's got a show coming up at some stage. I can't remember when I'm really sorry, Joe, because obviously you're northern based as well. Stick your gig details, your next gig details in the chat, mate. Let's get. I know there's a fair few northern folk up who watch the shows and watch the stream. So feel free, Joe, to plug your next gig in the chat, mate. But yeah, certainly, I don't know how many folk are watching sort of European hockey. I'm a big user of my VPN because I watch a lot of stuff from Germany and Austria. But if you are so inclined and you do use a VPN, the Austrian League is back once again on Austrian telly, and I've been watching games the past weekend with the VPN turned on. Pulse 24, PULS24.at, and you can watch. There's generally a game. If there's not a game on Friday night, there's a game on Sunday, and you can find and you can watch really good high quality hockey for however much it's costing you to look at your VPN. It's really, really good and really, really fun. And the Austrian League is pretty decent, pretty high standard. The only issue, of course, is the commentary's all in German. That's fine for me. I don't mind that. I know some people may struggle with it. I am not deliberately on here going to plug any sites that offer illicit streaming, because I'm not sure how that will get me into trouble in YouTube. However, if you look hard enough, you can find them. Is what I will say on that front. Although a lot of stuff from training camps from the NHL has all been free on YouTube. The Traverse City Prospects Tournament that Detroit hosts has all been free for the most part on YouTube. That's been fascinating to watch. Columbus's rookies like Adam Fantilli looks good. He looks really good. Either way, last call, everybody, is what I'm going to say for questions, comments, anything else before we get ourselves out of here for the evening. We've all got lives to do. I didn't cook. I've got to do the washing up in a little while as well, so that should be a lot of fun. But yeah, last call for questions, comments, and anything else. SHL just started again. Going to try and keep up with it, especially for Frölunda. I don't know if they're showing it on Viaplay though, Andrew. Whenever I've watched the SHL, I've always ended up trying to sort of keep tabs on it via either streams of dubious legality or like watching highlights on the SHL website. My Swedish is non-existent, so I don't understand an awful lot of it. Should have a quick swig of water actually. I meant dry in the mouth. Deary me. Will the Caps get back into the playoffs? The Caps are aiming for one thing and one thing only, and that's getting Ovechkin over the line to beat Gordie Howe. And to beat Gretzky. Sorry, he's beaten Gordie Howe to beat Gretzky. Can they get back into the playoffs? Will they get back into the playoffs? I think they may do. I think a lot kind of depends on how Pacioretty, when he's fit, kind of fits into everything and how that works. But can they? Yeah. Oh, and Andrew has very, very kindly put the WNIHL Elite fixtures in there as well. A couple of games there. Solihull versus Whitley. I don't know what day those are, though, Andrew. Are they Saturday or Sunday? But Solihull versus Whitley will, of course, be at Hobbsmoat Road. Both on Saturday. So there we go. 6:15 at Hobbsmoat Road between the Vixens and the Beacons on Saturday. Streatham versus Kingston on the High Road, 6:45 p.m. Oh, that is not a nice journey for the ladies from Hull. 6:45 p.m. face-off in London when you're coming from You've got to come from, got to get down to South London from Hull. That is a minger. But there we are. It's a tough one to do on that one. But that is the joy of being the top level of in this country, is the you have to put in the miles, but you get the potential of the glory. Either way, 9:15. I think we will call it there. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for everything now related to the NIHL, and a history that goes back across the Basingstoke Bison, and plenty more. 12 years worth of stuff to read on the website, including our Hockey Stories series, long form things for you to sit down and have a read over a cup of coffee, from the 19th century to the present day, behind the Iron Curtain, into war, from players of old, players of now, officials and all sorts and more. A great thing for you to just sit down and read. The back catalogue of the old BOTW podcast is there, as is Dice Hockey, the free to download tabletop ice hockey simulation game. Free. You can just download it for free, and then you can play it with bits from around your house, which you can go and enjoy. All I ask is, if you download Dice Hockey and you enjoy it, that you just chuck a couple of quid towards Parkinson's UK. My dad has Parkinson's. Parkinson's is the worst. And it's if we can get some money towards research and a cure, that'd be fantastic. But there is a bunch of stuff for you to go and enjoy over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, facebook.com/bannersonthewall if you like stuff through your Facebook feed. Every piece that goes on the website, the links to the streams will go up on there. Twitter is @bannersOTW. Of course, the links are down there in the description, because this is YouTube and you're joining us here for the BOTW What's Current stream, Wednesday nights 8 p.m. throughout the National Ice Hockey League season, all the way from now up until the end of the season in April. We are glad to have you here. All 5 divisions of the NHL. We touch on every game that is played, all the big news, all the views from you guys as well. They're in the chat, and of course all the usual bits and pieces when it comes to YouTube. Please keep the algorithm hamster running on its wheel. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it out. And of course, the other thing you can do is, I am passing the busking hat round this year. buymeacoffee.com/BOTW. The link is down there in the description as well. If you'd like to contribute just for the up-running costs of things I have, like server space, and just sort of getting around doing bits and pieces, and maybe even the opportunity to do some different stuff, that'd be appreciated as well. Do you want to sponsor the What's Current stream? You can do that as well. Drop me a line. There's definitely ways to do it, but there is a bunch of stuff that you can do. And thank you as always for joining us here at Banners on the Wall. It's massively appreciated. I see the Old Time Hockey podcast is ceasing to do anymore. Not one I listen to a massive amount, but obviously if they've decided to call that a day, that is entirely their proviso. They've obviously been, I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it, but when it's time with creative endeavours is the thing I find, Andrew. It's you can do stuff for a long time, you can do stuff for a short time, but when it stops either being fun or practical or doable, you have to be big enough and brave enough to say it's time to put it to bed. And if that's what the folk at the Old Time Hockey podcast are choosing to do, we thank them for what they put into the space. We thank them for the entertainment they've provided, and wish them well. And let's see who steps in to fill that space. There is a new podcast now, that's focusing on North One, which is awesome, and I'm just pulling up the name of it because I am absolutely blanking for love and money on what it's called, but I do know that there is one for it. Desperately trying to find what it's called quickly. Stick to the Pod. New podcast that's focusing on North One. Of course, we've got Zero Pucks Given looking at South One, and now we've got Stick to the Pod. It's obviously brand new, kicking off and looking at North One, which is awesome. So the fact that I believe it's Jono doing that, who occasionally pops into the chat here on the streams. So really, really excited for the fact that Jono's having a go at it. Really, really impressed that he's been brave enough. It's obviously a tough thing to do. It's hard to do, but either way. But that's us done. That's us done for another Wednesday night. We'll be back next Wednesday. Where will I be at the weekend? To be determined, but I'll certainly let you know, and we'll have a Banners on the Road right up for it once it is decided. Obviously, a bit of a tough time for our friends in Swindon. We do send them our best again, and we send our thoughts to the folk in Sheffield ahead of their game, coming up, and the Alex Graham jersey retirement. a night that when he should have been long old and retired, that surely would have come, and we have to do it way too soon, and that's very, very sad. But we hope we know that the folk in Sheffield will honour one of their own, and they will honour him well. Be happy, and if you can't be happy, then please do be safe. As my friend Scotty Watts would say, take care of yourself and somebody else. For bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe, and so long till next time. We will see you when we see you, but if we don't see you before then, we'll see you back here next Wednesday at 8 p.m.